Alright, what's going on everyone on YouTube? NES Ruler, welcome to a brand new review. And this time we'll be checking out a film that was sent to me to review by Alchemy Films. And when I first, saw the press release of this movie, I really thought that it was going to be another generic adaptation of this story that's been done a million times now. And I really wasn't expecting very much from it. I just thought it was just going to be another really boring, modern telling of this story. But as I finished it and I sat there thinking about it, a half hour ago, I really thought that the director of this did a really good job of trying to change enough things in the story to make it feel fresh and modern and actually work. And the actor who plays it's Frankenstein, the Frankenstein monster, I feel does a really great job. And if you guys know me based on my reviews and my time on the 22 Shots of Moods in Horror, you would know that my opinion of acting is probably the most important thing to me in a film. If you have a film that has a mediocre story but really good acting, then I'm probably going to give it some pretty okay praise and review. And Xavier Samuel in this film, who plays the Frankenstein monster, just does an absolutely amazing job. He really transforms into the character over time, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this film was actually directed by Bernard Rose, and Bernard Rose directed Candyman, and then he fell off the map for a little bit, and he really wasn't making films, or if he was making films, they were low budget, straight to DVD kind of stuff. And then he made a resurgence 2 years ago with SX tape, sex tape, and then I guess he made this film. And while I feel like the film is really well done and there's some really beautiful cinematography, exterior cinematography, the interiors are they're not really that nice to look at, which it's expected, but the exteriors are really beautiful, and there's some really nice shots of green scenery and things like that. And while I feel that this is a positive, it's also a negative, because I feel at some points the film is a little bit too artsy for its own good. I make the connection to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 with the white horse scenes. While I feel like they aren't as extreme in this film as they are in that movie, I feel like they're trying to accomplish the same sort of things, and I don't really feel like it helps the narrative too much. I feel like it's just trying to be too artsy for its own good. And I think that Bernard Rose could have approached these scenes in a different type of a way, to make them feel like, not to just be like, oh, this is so beautiful, these scenery, and the Frankenstein monster, and this dog that he becomes friends with, and Victor Frankenstein's wife that he falls in love with. It's just trying to combine all these things together, and like slow motion cinematography, and I just feel like it's trying to be way too artsy for its own good. But thankfully, it's only a few scenes of the film. And it really doesn't pop up until about the midway point of the movie, when the Frankenstein monster escapes the laboratory, and he goes outside and he starts to adapt in society. And that's why I think the film really starts to pick up and try to be a little bit different than a lot of the other adaptations of this film. The first 20 minutes of the film is your typical Frankenstein story. You got Victor Frankenstein, and you have actually his wife. That's a kind of a new thing. So you have Victor Frankenstein and his wife building this monster, but he's not really a monster. He looks like a regular human, but he has little knobs coming out of his neck, but they're not your typical Frankenstein metal knobs or flesh-like knobs coming out of his neck. And as time goes on, we start to see that the experiment went wrong, and the Frankenstein monster starts to have some defects on his face, and his eyes shoot red and things like that. So that's pretty generic. It's a pretty generic story. And then he escapes from the laboratory, and that's, like I said, where the film picks up. He becomes friends with this dog, and then there's a scene with the little girl that's in the original, but they cop out if you kind of put that together of what that means, which is unfortunate. I feel like if he was trying to make a commentary about society, that shouldn't have happened the way that it did. It's unfortunate, and I feel like it wasn't as effective as it was in the original, but it is what it is. So there's that scene, and then he starts to break out into some more original stuff that I haven't really seen in any of the other Frankenstein stories. He becomes friends with Tony Todd's character, who's blind, and the interaction between himself and Tony Todd is really, really nice. It's really well done. Tony Todd isn't in this film for 5 seconds. You know, he's in it for a good 20 minutes or so. And they build a really good friendship. And Frankenstein monster really learns a lot of how to act in society because of Tony Todd's character. And between Tony Todd's character and the scenes where Frankenstein monster is getting into unnecessary trouble because he doesn't know what's going on through police, you know, he gets shot by cops because he has no idea what's going on and things like that. And that's another thing I have to say about this film. This film, the effects are really, 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 really good. Practical effects all the way along until the end, where we have some iffy effects. That's not blood. That, if you guys know what I usually complain about when it comes to CGI, then you know what I'm talking about. But besides that, the effects are really, really, really good. And I was really happy to see that they went the all practical route instead of copping out and using CGI. And you could really tell that the film benefits from this. So overall, I think Bernard Rose was trying to make a interesting commentary about society through the Frankenstein monster story. I feel like he was trying to say that society is too violent towards people who may have mental illness or may not really connect with society, and then people don't really understand what's going on with mental illness, and they don't know the backstory and all that kind of things. And I don't really think he's saying too much about police violence too much, even though there is a lot of police first Frankenstein monster violence going on. I really don't think he's trying to say much about that, but I do feel like there's a little bit of commentary here about, like I said, mental illness and people not understanding mental illness. But overall, I really, really, really enjoyed this film. I thought it was actually quite good, and like I said, when I first got this in the mail, I really thought that it wasn't going to be good whatsoever. I thought it was going to be just another generic story, but it really, really surprised me. It's actually, you know, the surprise of the year so far for me. I highly recommend you guys check this out. I'm not just saying that. You know my word is good. If you listen to the podcast, you know I usually don't give too many films high praise, but I really, really feel like this one works. So if you guys get a chance, pick this up from Alchemy, coming soon. So check it out. Really, really good. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my review of Frankenstein. It's actually really good. If you guys like this review, please give me a thumbs up, and as always, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/NESRuler22. Hope everybody's doing good, and I'll talk to you guys soon with another review. See you guys.